I have a question for you. Are you ready for the Uberization of the United States Armed Forces? Eric Prince, who was the head of Blackwater Corporation, which has gone through a couple name changes since then. At one point, I think it was called ZXE, which was also potentially a name for Prince's symbol. When Prince was being known by a symbol, it was XE. It's something else now. Now, Richard Cohen of the Washington Post recently wrote that he thought that Eric Prince had an interesting idea, because Eric Prince and others have been lobbying the Trump administration and by the way, I still can't get used to saying Trump administration, but that's for another monologue. They've been lobbying the Trump administration about privatizing the war in Afghanistan. Now, what he's done is, and apparently General Mad Dog Mattis, the Secretary of Defense, is cool to the idea, and it is a sad state of American affairs when sanity is dependent on the judgment of someone named Mad Dog. But apparently Mad Dog doesn't like this idea. But Eric Prince wants to turn over much of the Afghan war, which I remind you has been underway for what now, 14 years or so, to quote unquote contracted European professional soldiers. Well, first of all, professional soldiers means mercenaries, and the fact is the United States is already using a lot of mercenaries for its endless wars. In fact, we saw a number of mercenary abuses, horrific abuses, in Iraq. But professional soldiers, mercenaries, interesting that he mentions Europeans. Prince is referring to British, French, Spanish, and other Europeans, including, for those Warren Zevon fans out there, presumably Roland, the headless Thompson gunner. Now, these guys would get $600 a day to tell Afghan troops what to do and be embedded with them. Now, there are two things incredibly wrong with this proposal. Well, more than two, but we'll start with two. Number one is the frankly racist idea that because someone is European, they should be commanding those who are not European. The fact is we've had Americans training these soldiers for many, many years. It hasn't worked out. It didn't work out very well in Iraq either. It could be that, in fact, their hearts are not in this struggle because of problems with the government we have installed there and corruption problems within our own armed forces. So problem number one is racism. Problem number two is that Eric Prince thinks that we need to privatize war. We've privatized almost everything in our society, and his sister, who is the education secretary, is busy trying to privatize education. We need to make more things public.